Welcome to Learn with Jerad. I'm Jerad, and today I'm going to teach you 5 Elementor tips with WordPress that I think are super useful. One of the topics on this channel besides productivity is online marketing and business, and WordPress is one of the website platforms that I utilize. Elementor makes it really easy to build out pages and design a website with really no experience at all. I have courses available that are free for WordPress. You can check out the link in the description below. But Elementor has a lot of really great features, and there's some time-saving tips and some just overall good things to know that I wanted to share with you in this video, being one of the first web design related videos on this channel. So I have a website that I'm working on for a client here. It's a restoration company, and there are some things in Elementor that we would want to set up first before we get too carried away. Now I'm going to go to a page and just open up a page to show you that you can get to this from pretty much anywhere. I'll hit Edit with Elementor to open up a page. So I'm assuming that you have at least the free version of Elementor installed in WordPress. Now in the top left-hand corner here we have our site settings. And under our site settings we can set things like global colors and global font settings. And what's nice about this is that you set these once, and then when you go and add something like a heading or text or different things like that to your page, they're going to adhere to the settings that you've already predetermined. When I first started using a page builder, they didn't have settings like this, and so I'd have to go and change every heading color and size and the weight of the font and all of those things. It was just very time consuming. So you're going to want to come through here and set the colors appropriately to the colors that you want for primary, which is things like headings, secondary, which is I typically just go with a little bit darker than the actual text, and then the text color and the accent color. And accent color will be for things like buttons and different elements that you might put on the page. So these colors, I went with the colors of the logo. So I went with blue as the primary and orange as the secondary. So I try to match these colors to the brand colors of the company, and that makes it nice and easy because those will be automatically applied all the time. Now under global fonts you can also change the font size, the actual font itself. So if I come in here for primary, maybe I don't want it to be the default Roboto and I want it to be a certain size, a certain weight, I can go and make the adjustments that I want to these fonts for all four, for the secondary font, the text, and the accent. So how do I want them to show up in buttons and other elements like that? What fallback font, if I went and added a custom font, what fallback font do I want as a backup? And adding a custom font is a little bit tricky, but you do have lots of font options here. But just by tapping and viewing all the fonts, you can see all the different fonts. Some of them give you, most of them give you previews, not all of them do. But if you wait for a second, it loads and you get a preview for most of these fonts, and you can select a font that looks good. Most of the fonts that show up here in this list are going to be supported on pretty much all modern browsers that are at least a few years old or newer. And so choosing a font definitely gives your website a nice look, and you can match the font of the brand if the font is available, or choose a font that's close, something that just looks good. So I recommend coming through and setting these. You also have styling that you can set for the different headings. You can come through and fill all of these out. I'm not going to go through this exhaustive list, but I do recommend going through this site settings section first and setting all these up before you get too carried away creating pages for your website. The next item we're going to look at is padding and margin adjustments and how those work. Now, adding spacing is pretty important when you create a new section here, and so let's just go ahead and do that. Create a full width. You can see it's pretty tiny here in the middle. If I go and add an element of any sort here, such as a heading it's going to be just kind of up against the top of the page. It just doesn't look really good. And so I want to add a little bit of spacing. So for this section here, you can see there's a good amount of spacing on the top and the bottom before the next section. And so if I go into the section in the Advanced tab here, you can see I added some padding to it. Now I added padding all the way around because on a mobile device I don't want this to go all the way to the edge. I want it to squish in just a little bit. And I chose padding because I put a border line down at the bottom. If I didn't choose padding and I just did margin, you can see the spacing is kind of weird. This border line down at the bottom is up against the button, and there's actually 40 pixels of margin at the top, and I didn't want that. I wanted everything to be centered in the middle. And so if something isn't working right, maybe you need to switch from margin to padding. Definitely if you're doing anything with the background of a section, so if you're looking in a section, which we're in a section right now, this would be a column, and then the element would be this one here. And so if we're in a section and you want to have anything applied to the section itself, you're going to need to use padding, because padding pushes everything to the edges of that section, whereas margin gives just margin spacing and keeps everything right in the middle, and that might not be the effect you're looking for. Because I have a border going down on the bottom here, so if we're in the section and we go on Style and look at border, you can see we have a 2-pixel solid border just at the bottom. We're going to need to use padding instead of margin. So I recommend using padding or margin in all of your sections just to give a little bit of spacing. Definitely make sure that you look and see how things appear on a mobile device as well. I can come in here, of course, and go and look at how this page is responding. You can see that I have some padding on the sides here, which keeps things from running all the way to the side. I wanted a little bit more room for the rest of the site, for things to go to the side. I didn't want padding there. I just wanted this to be nice and right here in the middle. And I also, without the padding, the word us was up here, and all I had on the bottom line here was now, and I didn't want it to say emergency call us and then the word now right underneath it. It didn't look good. So that padding helped out both in the mobile responsive version, looking at it in a cell phone view, and also helped take care of the issue with making sure that this border line was down towards the bottom. So you can also adjust all of this for an individual element as well. If I wanted to add more spacing between emergency call us now and that button, I could either go in here and add maybe a 20 pixel margin to the bottom, or of course I can always go and grab a spacer and throw a spacer in there as well, a spacer element, and then that's going to add a little bit of space between that button and the item above it. I'm not going to do that though. I like the spacing that's there. I just wanted to give that as an example. So the third tip is copy and pasting between browser tabs. Not all the time do you want to create something as a global element here. Of course, I can create a global widget from any section, or I can save a template. So if this section I knew I wanted to add to every single page, rather than recreating it every single time, I can go and save this as a template and call this like top CTA or something like that for call to action, and then hit save, and now it's saved in my templates library. Of course I could do that, but if I didn't need it to be a template, I can easily go and just copy this whole section, and then I could come in and into another page. So for example, maybe I was editing my home page and I wanted to add this to the home page, so I can go to Edit with Elementor, and now I've got the home page opened in one tab and I've got the contact page open in another tab, and I could just come in here and let's just go down to the bottom where the open widget area is, and I can hit paste, and it's going to paste in that whole section. This was huge when I realized that I could do this, copy an element or even an entire section that has elements in it from one page and paste it in another. Now, I haven't been able to get this to work going from one website to another, but as long as I'm within the same website, it works. Copy and pasting saves a lot of time. So the fourth tip is being able to make responsive adjustments to elements without creating a second copy. In earlier days in building out websites, if you wanted to have something like, say, this big image as a background view a certain way on desktop and on mobile, you had to create separate copies of it and hide it based on the breakpoint. So if you were on a wide desktop, it would show an image with certain parameters, and then as you went down to a smaller screen size, it would shift to maybe that same image but with different parameters. And it was kind of a pain to make those changes. But in Elementor, you can actually go and change your responsive mode. So I'll go and change it to mobile. And so now I'm viewing this image, and I can't really see the faces of the two contractors here. So I want to make changes to that. So what I need to do, because I'm in mobile responsive, and I've already made changes and everything looks good for the desktop, is just make my adjustments here. So I can change my minimum height and make this smaller. So maybe I don't want it so big. I'll just bring it in like that. And so 380 is good, and I'll hit update. And then I'm going to go back to my desktop, and you'll see that desktop looks just fine. It looks exactly how it's supposed to look. And then when I go down to mobile, it actually changes the view there. It changes that adjustment that I made and adheres only to that mobile breakpoint. So I could even make specific changes for tablet. I don't really mind where tablet is at. I kind of like the crop there. I could go a little bit shorter for tablet as well. So let's just do that for the sake of being here, and we'll go with 400 for tablet. So now we have, with desktop, we have 675. When we go to tablet, we have 400. And then when we have mobile, we have 380. And I could even go a little bit smaller if I wanted to, and maybe even change the text size here of this big heading that's right in the middle of the page. So this is really cool, because in that small amount of time, I was able to make something very mobile friendly just by adjusting the slider in those different breakpoints for desktop, mobile, and tablet. And that's fantastic. Saves a ton of time and provides a better user experience. So the last tip is using a background image like this, and what you can do to make text more easily to read, and also just set up that background to be more visible. So the last tip, of course, was making it mobile responsive, and you can do that with pretty much anything, even small images in these different boxes, any element. Piggybacking now on that tip number 4, you can make those changes, those responsive changes. But moving forward, if I was throwing some text on top of an image and I couldn't read the text too well, didn't want to change the color to a color that might be more visible, I can make changes to this section image. And I just wanted to show you what I have set here. So I have the image here. I have it set to top center, because center just sometimes push their heads a little too far up to the top. Default was okay, but depending on the size of the screen, I wanted it to kind of remain centered to where they're not pressed too far up against. I'm not cutting off a helmet, and they're not too far down on the bottom of the page either. Usually when I go full screen on an image like this, or full width, I want to set it to no repeat in case somebody browses the website that has a large screen, a very large screen. That image may reach its limitations, and then it repeats the image, and it's just going to look kind of ridiculous with this image repeating itself. So I'll choose no repeat, and then I'll also choose the cover option, because the cover option is going to fit that image to that area, and it's going to expand and contract based on the size of the screen. So if I allow it to be saved to cover here, and I'll just show you cover is what it was already. So I'm going to go ahead and move this in. As you can see, the image kind of constrains and stays and changes, and of course that's the breakpoint for tablet, because you saw the menu change. And so doing that, make sure that that image is going to look good regardless of the screen size, because you might be building that website on a laptop of this size, but other people with bigger laptops or bigger screens or smaller screens may be viewing your website. So I always set it to cover so that it covers the entire section and nothing spills over the edge any more than I want it to. So also, background overlay can be important. If the text is hard to read, you can add a background overlay. So we're going to go ahead and give this maybe a little bit of a darker tone. So we're darkening up the image. And I can also change the opacity here. So I can, if I just want a very little amount of kind of a darker overlay added, I can just add that with 0.25, and then I can slide it over and make it even darker if I want. I may actually leave this on here. I'm going to just toggle this on and off and see what I think here. Let's see. So the 0.2, yeah, I kind of like maybe just a 0.15 on there. Actually just makes the text just a little bit easier to read, so I actually like that. But adding a background overlay is going to make the text a lot easier to read. Sometimes with a big image like that, you don't want to waste a ton of screen real estate just having an image there only. You need to put some text up on the screen. If it's hard to get that text legible, then you can do something like adding a background overlay. And what's cool is that it also has a hover option as well. So if I didn't want the color to apply on a hover, I can change that. And so in a hover, I can have that, that darker tone go away, revealing more of the image. Or vice versa, I can make, when you mouse over it, I can make it darker, making the text easier to read, which could be a cool effect. Maybe not necessarily for a big box like this, but if you were utilizing smaller images with text on them, having that hover effect also can be pretty cool. And then just kind of changing some of these. There's also some filters in here that you can use too, which are cool if you don't want to add a background overlay like a color over the top of it. You can use a CSS filter as well. Just keep in mind that getting too carried away with some of these can make your page load a little bit slower, and also can have different effects on different browsers that may be older if people are utilizing your website from an older browser. So that's going to do it for this video. I know this is a different jump into a new topic, which is web design related. This particular channel is an extension of my online course website that has a variety of different courses. And so I wanted to have videos on YouTube that were kind of even extensions of those courses so that we can continue to learn, continue to put things out there, because a lot of things change pretty fast, not just in the world of web, but also in photography, also in productivity. All the different topics that I teach on over on my website, I want to represent here on the channel. So keep in mind that eventually there will be playlists built out, so you can just go to a playlist on a specific topic that you're interested in. I appreciate you clicking that subscribe button and also clicking like if you found this video useful. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you back in another one soon.